Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zoe Connell, and I'm the president of the International Relations Club at William & Mary. On behalf of the club and the college, I'd like to welcome all of our attendees this weekend to the 9th Annual William & Mary College Model United Nations Conference, otherwise known as MUN. Since 1931, the International Relations Club has sought to promote the study and pursuit of international relations at the college and beyond. Our Model United Nations conferences, competitive travel team, campus events, and philanthropy encourage engagement with a variety of international relations topics. The three Model UN conferences we host annually, ANMUN, our high school conference WMISMUN, and our middle school conference WMIDMUN, are the highlights of our year and the culmination of our mission. ANMUN is our youngest conference, and this year marks its 9th iteration. Obviously, things are profoundly different this year. As we all know too well, COVID-19 has upended almost every aspect of our professional and personal lives. ANMUN has been no exception. Fortunately, due to the resilience of its secretariat, the conference this year will be what it always is, an opportunity for us to share our passions for global issues, diplomacy, and debate with our peers. Personally, I've always had a blast at ANMUN. The creativity, complexity, and quality of the delegates impresses me every year, and I'm looking forward to ending my own Model UN career on such a positive note. As you can probably imagine, pulling this whole weekend together is a feat, particularly given the myriad of constraints involved in putting on a fully online conference. So even more so than in previous years, I commend the leadership of ANMUN's 9th Secretary General, Riley Busby. Riley's a senior at the college majoring in international relations and history. Outside of IRC, Riley's a head delegate on campus, conducts research for the Global Research Institute, and interns with the U.S. Department of State. I have known Riley since my own very first college Model UN experience our freshman year, and over the course of our 4 years together, she's become one of my closest friends. This year, I had the absolute pleasure of working with Riley on the club's executive board. I got to see her leadership capabilities firsthand. Riley is a natural-born leader who sets an example for everyone else, but she does so in an exceptionally caring and kind way. Riley is strong, motivated, and dependable, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. The staff, secretariat, executive board, and the club at large all look up to Riley with admiration. Even in the face of a pandemic, Riley does not quit. Her hard work has paid off, though, as we welcome a newly formatted virtual ANMUN. Please join me in welcoming the Secretary General of ANMUN IX, Riley Busby.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Good evening, friends, delegates, staff, advisors, and esteemed guests. My name is Riley Busby, and I'm the Secretary General of ANMUN IX. It is my privilege to welcome you to the 9th Annual Collegiate Model United Nations Conference hosted by the International Relations Club at William & Mary, or as we like to call it, ANMUN. We're truly honored you all chose to attend ANMUN virtually this year, and we look forward to a weekend of lively debate, exciting committees, and hopefully new friendships. As you all know, this past year has been anything but normal, and Model UN conferences are no exception. While we would have loved to host you all in Williamsburg this year, we're so glad you're able to attend this conference safely from all over the world. This ANMUN is different from previous ANMUNs and hopefully from any other future ANMUNs. Model UN means something different to everyone. And here at ANMUN, our goal is to facilitate whatever Model UN means to you. We strive to create an environment where our delegates can make their own Model UN, where they can explore what it means to be diplomatic, and they can try their hand at solving real-world issues, and hopefully even have fun doing it. It's been a long road, and I couldn't be more proud of what my team and I have put together for you all. ANMUN prides itself on providing an engaging and reactive crisis experience that's shaped by delegates, and we hope this year will be no different. We've created engaging committee topics covering a multitude of regions and time periods. We're privileged to have the amazing directors and staff that will truly engage you in your respective committees and help you dive into the ANMUN experience fully. We're also incredibly proud to host our first ever specialized agency in ANMUN history. No matter if you are in a committee about Doctor Who or the Vikings, the incredible ANMUN staff is sure to make this a conference you will never forget. Finally, an important part of this conference is making sure it feels like your own and accessibility. The ANMUN staff and secretariat are here to make sure that you have the best possible conference experience. So please don't hesitate to ask if there's anything we can do to make your conference weekend better. We know this year is incredibly different and difficult, and we're here to help make it as exciting, invigorating, and interesting as possible, and do not want any issue to stop you from having that experience. Welcome virtually to Williamsburg, and welcome to MUN. We're so happy to have you. Now I'm pleased to introduce Grace Bruce, who runs the International Relations Club Service Branch, who will talk about the club's fundraising efforts.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know that I'm speaking on behalf of the entire MUN staff when I say that we're so excited to have you all here this weekend. My name is Grace Bruce, and I'm currently acting as the head of IRC's service branch, IR Cares. While service efforts at MUN might look a little bit different this year, I'm really looking forward to continuing our long-standing tradition of helping to make the world a better place through fundraising. Each year, our club chooses an international organization or NGO to raise money for. In light of the devastating effects of COVID-19 around the world this year, we decided to fundraise for Direct Relief, an organization dedicated to improving the lives and health of people affected by poverty or emergencies around the globe. Throughout the pandemic, Direct Relief has utilized its global distribution infrastructure and financial resources to aid in the global response, with emergency deliveries of protective gear and critical care medications leaving daily for medical facilities across the globe. They have also provided emergency funding to health facilities in the world's hardest hit areas. Now that you know a little bit more about the importance of Direct Relief's work, I hope you'll be excited to help us in supporting their mission. This year at MUN, you can support our fundraising efforts by buying merchandise through our bonfire page, buying stickers through Redbubble, participating in our 50/50 raffle through Venmo, or just donating directly. Your committee staffers will provide you with more details and links during your first committee session. Thank you in advance for your support, and I hope you all have a wonderful time this weekend.
Thank you so much, Grace. And I hope you all will consider taking part in this amazing charity, as our directors will inform you more during the conference. Now, I am thrilled to welcome our keynote speaker, James Comey. Since graduating from the College of William and Mary in 1982, James Comey has been a prosecutor, defense lawyer, general counselor, teacher, writer, and leader. He most recently served in government as director of the FBI from 2013 to 2017. His best-selling book, A Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Leadership, was published in 2018 and made into a 2020 Showtime television miniseries. His second book, Saving Justice, Truth, Transparency, and Trust, was published in January of 2021. With such an incredible background, we are so incredibly honored to have Director Comey virtually return to the College of William and Mary and speak to us today. Please join me in welcoming Director Comey.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining me here on the steps of the beautiful Sutton Garden on the College of William and Mary's campus. Let me begin with an apology. I'm so sorry that we are meeting like this and that we are not all gathered on the amazing campus in Williamsburg. I'm sorry for the pain, the anxiety, excuse me, and the loss that you have dealt with over the last year. I can't begin to imagine the challenges that you faced as students during this difficult time. I just want to thank you for the perseverance, the strength of character you've shown, and for joining us here today to listen to me speak briefly about public service, because I want to make a case to you that the world needs you, especially now, and that if you think about it in the right way, there's no other place you should be than trying to serve your fellow human beings through public service, and the public service will bring you rewards that will make you rich in all kinds of non-conventional ways. And I also want to suggest to you some ways you might approach public service so that you are successful in the right way, in the way that where success means making a difference in the life of a community, of a state, of a country, of a continent, or a world. So let me start with public service. On this campus, my fire was lit to be part of trying to do good for other people. My wife was also a student, then my girlfriend, and her fire was lit, and she pursued a different direction. She went in the Peace Corps after William and Mary, and she served by teaching teachers in remote areas of West Africa. I went to law school, not knowing exactly how I was going to be useful to people, but knowing that I really wanted to be, and that I didn't want to be successful in any of the normal ways, but I wanted to be successful by making a contribution. And I've stressed that now a couple times, and it may seem obvious to you. It's not obvious what success means to very talented people, especially early in their careers, because the siren song of traditional success, of great pay, a nice house, a fancy car, plaques on the wall, human recognition, all of these things whisper to you, sing to you, and shout to you when you're a talented young person coming up through school and in your early years after school. And I ache for those who go only in that direction, who don't heed the advice that Albert Einstein used to give young people, which is try not to become people of success, try to become people of value. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that human honor is but smoke which has no weight. An awful lot of talented people get lost chasing success and find themselves in a fog of smoke that blows away, unfortunately, at the end of their lives when they realize they didn't really make a difference. So I would urge you to try and be those people of value that Einstein talked about. Now, I want to be honest with you, it can be very, very difficult, especially hard on your bank account and your credit cards to be a public servant. A lot of people can't do it for a long period of time because of their obligations. A lot of people can't really do it at all except in their volunteer hours because of the obligations they have to support others. And I totally get that. But if you can be part of doing work with moral content, where your job is, not to be too corny, but I mean it, to do good for other human beings, there lies value. Life is really, really short. I've unfortunately been in jobs where I've seen a lot of loss and a lot of pain, but it has brought to me a perspective where I'm constantly asking myself, how will I feel about what I've done at the end of my life? And so I teach classes now, and I've taught at William & Mary, and I have an exercise that I require the students to go through. I ask them, take an index card, sit down by yourself. You're not going to turn this project in. Sit down by yourself and write the sentence about your life. If your life ended today, what would the sentence be that you would want spoken about you? What did you do? What did you mean? What kind of person were you? What difference did you make? Or maybe you're someone who wants it to be, she had a lot of money in the bank, or she had a really cool car, or she won lots of awards, but whatever it is, write the sentence. And then I tell my students, and keep that card and look at it periodically, because what you want written on that sentence is going to change over time. When I was at William & Mary, my sentence was very different than it is today. I want at least part of my sentence today to be, he was a great husband, father, grandfather, neighbor, things that I didn't think about a whole lot when I was an undergraduate or a law student. So keep the card and revisit it. It forces you to turn the telescope of life around a bit. You're spending lots of time which I understand, and I did, to get better grades, to get the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Great, all important, that's striving. But turn the telescope around and look at your life from the end backwards and ask this question: who do you want to have been? All the time you're asking yourself, so who do I want to become? Terrific. You're now at the end. Who do you want to have been? Because I think from that vantage point, asked in that way, the smoke is cleared. The smoke of success is blown away. You want to have been somebody who made a difference for those who needed you, for the hungry, for the tired, for the bullied, for the oppressed. You wanted to be somebody who did something with the gifts that you've been given. So how do you do that well? Well, my first advice to you is don't have much of a plan if you're going to be disappointed that life departs from the plan, right? I ended up being FBI director. How did that happen? I really couldn't have predicted it. I'm not sure I can explain it to you today how that happened. But I knew on the College of William & Mary what my North Star was. I knew that life was short, and I wanted to be someone who made a difference in the lives of people who needed me, that I had been given great privilege. I wasn't rich. I grew up in a middle-class family, but I had all kinds of privileges by virtue of what I looked like, where I came from, the people who coached me and taught me and guided me and educated me. And I had an obligation to give something back with that. That's who I want to have been. I knew that when I was 17, 18 years old. And so my plan was to try and be that. And I went in all kinds of strange directions on that path, and I'll just illustrate one of them. So I go to law school thinking, yeah, a law degree will best suit me, given my strengths and my weaknesses. I will best be able to use a law degree to help people. Okay, great. Didn't know exactly how. I worked in the legal aid clinic at law school, and it represented poor people who were applying for disability benefits. I found the work addictive. I loved being able to use, I think I used to talk to them about them at the time as skills I have. Looking back, I didn't really have much in the way of skills, but I had all kinds of energy, and I was a second-year law student. I loved using that to try and help these poor people. And so that continued to kindle the fire in me. But exactly what kind of lawyer to be, I didn't know. So when I graduated law school, I was lucky enough to get a job right out of law school as a law clerk for a federal judge. And that judge would have most of our work be done in research and writing, sitting in a small clerk's office outside his bigger office. But from time to time, he would let us come into the courtroom and watch, just to see what was happening so we could help him and also so we could learn. Well, one day, I was sitting in the courtroom and there was a bail hearing going on. And I know it sounds boring, but it was not boring, because the United States government was attempting to, for the very first time, use a new statute that Congress had passed that allowed the government to seek to detain, to hold without bail, someone not on flight grounds. The risk that someone would run away was the primary basis on which you could seek detention. But they passed a new law that said you can also seek detention if letting this person out will be a danger to the community. And so the government was trying to prove that a particular defendant was a danger to the community. And this wasn't just any defendant. This was the boss of the Genovese crime family, one of the 5 New York mafia families. And his name was Tony Salerno. His nickname was Fat Tony. And I'm 25 at this point in time. I'm sitting in the jury box because there was no jury for this. It was a judge proceeding. And I'm watching while 2 young assistant US attorneys, 2 federal prosecutors, tried to prove to the judge that if you let Fat Tony out, the community will be in danger. And they did it by using evidence that had been gathered from a bug that the FBI put under the table in Fat Tony's social club, the Pommel Boys Social Club in East Harlem, which in those days was a mob enclave in Upper Manhattan. And on these tapes, he's talking about breaking people's legs and whacking people. And they talked about his co-defendant, Vincent Cafaro, whose nickname was the Fish. So I'm sitting in the jury box looking at these guys. First of all, Cafaro looks like a fish. And Fat Tony is right out of central casting. He's fat. I mean, the nickname came by it honestly. But he also has a bald head. He walks with a cane. And he had an unlit cigar, stogie, in his mouth that he chewed on. And when he wasn't happy with something his lawyer said in court, he would occasionally bark out some additional advocacy. He would say, "It's an outrage, Your Honor. It's an outrage." Okay, picture me, 25, sitting in the jury box, having been bullied as a kid. I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. These are the biggest bullies imaginable. They terrorize and dominate shopkeepers, mothers and fathers, people trying to just raise their children and their families in a decent way in neighborhoods all throughout New York and all throughout the country. If I could be part of putting this kind of bully away, that's the difference I want to make. So I went home and I called my girlfriend, now my amazing wife, fellow William & Mary graduate, and I said, I know what I want to do with my life. She said, that's great. What is that? And I said, I want to be a federal prosecutor. I want to work for the United States Department of Justice, putting these kind of people away to try and rescue communities. And she said, that's great. That sounds perfect for you. And I said, yeah, and I want to do it in New York. Long pause, because my wife, then my girlfriend, has always hated New York. I said, because it's the coolest place to do it, it has the best cases. This is where I want to do it. So long story short, a year later and lots of negotiation with my amazing spouse, I became an assistant US attorney in the Southern District of New York, and I got to do that work. I got to put those bullies away. I got to rescue people who are in tremendous pain, working with lots and lots of victims of crime. I found it deeply rewarding. And that began this weird journey that's led me to this point. I'm in my basement. I'm not in the College of William & Mary, and I'm speaking to you, and I'm kind of an unemployed B-list celebrity. So how did I get from there to here? The details are important. I just tried at every turn, no matter what accident put me in a place, to remember who I wanted to have been. When I've had to make difficult decisions that I knew would piss people off, I asked myself, how am I going to explain this decision at the end of my life? What am I going to tell my grandchildren or their children about how I conducted myself? Yeah, people are going to be angry. People are going to be confused. But what's the right thing to do here? Forgetting popularity and politics and all the rest of it. What is the thing that I will want said about me and that I will want to know is true at the end of my life? And so you make a series of decisions that way. You do piss a lot of people off, but you find yourself in rare circumstances where you get the chance to make a difference through serving other people. You don't get rich as a result. You don't get famous, maybe you get infamous, but you're able to make a difference. But what are the characteristics of people who make those kind of differences? And this is where I want to share with you my thinking about what makes for an effective public servant, but especially what makes for a great leader of public servants. What sets apart the people who do it well and who draw talent to themselves from those who are less so, where people flee and they end up as individual contributors? What are the marks of that kind of person? I actually think it's pretty simple. And I think it boils down to a set of attributes that should be common sense to you, and I suspect will be seen as you listen to me in the people who got you to this moment. Because if you are on this Zoom, I guarantee you had people in your life who reflected what I think are the key attributes of being a great leader, a great coach, a great teacher, or a great parent. They're simple. There's only 4, and they come in 2 pairs. I believe that the best coaches, teachers, parents, and bosses and leaders are people who are tough and kind, confident and humble. And the pairs go together. So take that first pairing. Tough and kind. Think about the people who are responsible for you being on this Zoom. I guarantee you had people, and I hope you still do, people in your life who loved you enough, there's the kindness piece, to kick you in the pants. There's the toughness piece. I am a human being, and so like you, I have many strengths. Like you, I have many weaknesses. And one of my weaknesses, especially when I was young, was an ability to convince myself that what I had done was awesome. Drop the mic, walk away, nailed it, nailed it. Luckily, I had people in my life who said, no, it's crap. You can write better than that. You can think better than that. You could run farther than that. You could be a better person making better decisions than that. You're settling. You're fooling yourself. And get your lazy butt back into the library, back into the chapel, back into the gym. Be better. You have those people in your life or you wouldn't have gotten to this point. They are saviors for all of us because it's the easiest thing in the world to convince yourself of your own righteousness, that you've done something well. Everybody gets that one half of the pair without the other is dysfunctional. Everybody gets that toughness alone is dysfunctional because it's a whipped horse. It's a recipe for a couple of good laps, then the poor animal just falls down and never gets anywhere, no less never gets any better. That's obvious. But I actually think that the reverse single, kindness alone, is in some ways worse and more dangerous. It's more dangerous because it's seductive. It is awesome to be told you're awesome. It's awesome to be told you nailed that. That's wow, incredible, A+. But when it's not, as it often is, it's also a recipe for getting to the end of a human life and living a tragedy, which is unfulfilled potential. Getting to the end of your life, never having been what you might have become if someone had just loved you enough to kick you in the pants. Kindness alone is seductive, it's addictive, and it's dangerous. President Trump, our former president, had as his first defense secretary a guy named Jim Mattis. And I actually didn't used to, after I was fired, I stopped saying Mattis's name out loud because I didn't want Trump to find out that I thought Mattis was a great leader. I can use his name now. What I thought made him a great leader was that combination of kindness and toughness. Through a life of public service, he demanded high experience, high achievement, high standards from the Marines he led over a 40-year career. But he did it in such a way that he created an atmosphere of love. The Marines General Mattis led cared so deeply about him that he almost never needed to yell. I think about the best teachers you've ever had, coaches you've ever had. If I'm right, and I think I am, they are people who created an atmosphere in that classroom or on that team or in that family, their parent, where they almost never needed to raise their voice, because the last thing you ever want to do is disappoint that leader, because they've somehow created this combination of high standards and deep mutual consideration, love. My parents were report card on the refrigerator people. When I was in grade school and high school, you come home and your report card, if yours was the worst among your four siblings, would be up high on the refrigerator. So everybody would stare at it all marking period long while they got to get milk or orange juice or anything like that. Right? It seems brutal, right? No, because it was delivered in an atmosphere of love. I knew where it was coming from. I knew how much my parents loved me and wanted me to be better. I had dinner alone in the green room on the first floor of the White House residence with Donald Trump on the Friday at the end of his first week as president of the United States. And it was just the two of us at a teeny little table in the middle of the green room. And near the beginning of that dinner, he looked at me across a salad and said, I need loyalty. I expect loyalty. In that moment, I knew two things. I knew first that this guy doesn't care about the separation that the American people have wanted since Watergate between the investigative power sitting in the FBI and the chief executive power in the president, that they wanted a distance, which is why they gave a symbolic 10-year term to the FBI director. I knew instantly he didn't care about that. But the second thing I knew is the guy doesn't know anything about leadership, because a real leader would never, ever ask for loyalty. A real leader does nothing but give to build the kind of atmosphere I'm talking about, right? General Mattis, Jim Mattis, never asked his troops, his Marines, for loyalty. He gave them sleep before he got it. He gave them food before he got to eat. He gave them the best equipment before he got it. He gave them everything he could. And what he wanted in return was high performance. And what he got was high performance plus something more important than loyalty. He got love, an extraordinary reluctance, aversion to disappointing the person who has imposed the high standards. That's what kindness and toughness will get you. Okay, the second pairing, confidence and humility, another weird one. Well, let me just explain to you how when I was FBI director, I would try and live a life of kindness and toughness, because I thought I've seen this enough. And I don't know about you folks, but I learned a whole lot more from bad bosses than I did from good bosses. And I had a lot of bad bosses. And so I learned that I got to copy people like Mattis. So I become FBI director. I spend my time trying to build that kindness piece, because it's easy to build the toughness part. All I need to do, which is what I did, which is impose clear standards and whack people who crossed you, who violated the standards, make sure they were severely disciplined and the organization heard about it. It's kind of easy to be tough in that way. Harder to build that atmosphere of mutual consideration and love. And I did it in all kinds of different ways. I'll just give you one example. I went to the cafeteria every day to get my lunch. Seems a small thing, had never been done by an FBI director. So the first time I walked in there was like walking into the cafeteria at a gigantic high school, 800 sets of eyes turn and look at the director like, what the hell? I'm just going to get my lunch by myself. I asked my security people to stay back from me. I didn't want the FBI to think I need to be protected from the FBI by the FBI. And so I walk in by myself and I got online to get a sandwich or a wrap, and they had a panini machine, which makes the line take forever, but I still don't cut the line. I wait in the line. I do not have time to wait in this line, but I'm trying to show something. I'm trying to show I'm not apart from you. I'm not above you in any moral sense. I'll wait in the same line you wait in. And then I would use the time to ask people questions, to find out more about the FBI. How were they feeling? Why did they come here? What did they think was good? What was bad? What motivated them? And my favorite story, which I'll share with you very briefly, is I'm standing there. I interview a woman in line in front of me. One day, I've been director for a year. I turn around to interview the woman behind me. There's a guy behind me, interview the guy behind me. And I find out he works in IT, works on servers on one of the high floors, and he loves it because he loves the mission of protecting the American people. And he also gets more experience than he would ever get at a similar level of seniority at a private company. And so it's incredibly cool. He's glad he came to the FBI. And then there's an awkward pause. And he says, how about yourself? And I said, I'm the director. And he said, director of, and I said, dude, I'm the director of the FBI. You work for me, man. And he looks at me and goes, oh man, you look so different online. Yeah, that's a little hurtful. I'm hoping that's just because I'm tiny online and not 6'8", but it's probably something more hurtful, so I don't want to know the details. I worked to try and copy somebody like Jim Mattis and build that kindness and toughness. Okay, so confidence and humility. This will resonate with you because you've seen it around you. The best teachers, coaches, parents, and bosses are people who have enough confidence, enough comfort in their own skin to show the humility that's required to shut up and listen to you. Have the humility that's required to walk off the stage and let you stand center stage. Let you stand at the podium in that spotlight. Let you get the applause. That is very, very hard for insecure people to do. People who are out of balance, don't have a equipoise between confidence and humility. They're threatened by you being center stage. They're threatened by you being recognized. I'm sure you all have seen this. I hope it didn't happen in your families, but I'm sure you've seen parents on the sidelines of kids' sporting events appearing to be threatened by their own children's success, appearing to begrudge that the children are doing so well. And I think the way we're supposed to be is hope that our kids are better than us at everything, and then sit back and say, there's my girl, there's my boy. But that takes a certain amount of self-confidence, a certain amount of comfort in yourself to show that kind of humility. The best bosses spin off talent. The best coaches generate coaches for other teams. The best teachers inspire other people to teach. That's the mark of someone who's got a mix of confidence and humility. Look forward in sports you follow, industries you're interested in. The great ones have produced leaders for other companies. They've produced coaches for other teams. That's somebody who had the confidence to move to the side and allow their people to shine. And they also moved to the side to do the first thing I said, which is to shut up. It is really hard for an insecure person to listen to another, because just the act of listening is a confession of weakness, right? If I'm a leader in a government agency and I ask you a question, you work for me, what have I just admitted? You may know something, I don't know. I need something you have. That's a confession of weakness. Really hard for people who don't have a balance of confidence and humility to do that. And the challenge of leadership is you sit at the top of a hill. Every leader sits uphill from the people that she leads, and she sits on that topography needing to hear the truth from those downhill. Because if we're going to make good decisions about anything, we need the truth to be spoken, especially up that hill to the leader. And so how do you deal with that as a leader? You have to have enough confidence to risk yourself, because that slope is characterized by a universal human experience, an affliction that we all have, the imposter complex. That's the idea that if you knew me, if you really knew me the way that I know me, you would think less of me. We all have that to one degree or another. If you don't, you're an unbelievable jerk, and I don't know what you're doing on this Zoom. I can't help you, but I think all of us have it to one degree or another. And it's a double bind, because the leader at the top of the hill has it, right? I'm the leader of the FBI. I'm afraid people will know that I'm not all that. That maybe they shouldn't be rising when I walk in the room or getting a catch in their throat when they speak to me, because maybe I'm not what they think I am. It's a double bind, because down the hill from the leader is a person speaking up the hill, terrified of being destroyed and exposed by the leader. Because as the director of the FBI, when someone briefs me on something, if I want to crush them, all I need to do is just make a sound. Just go, and they're crushed. They're exposed. The boss at the top of this steep hill just told me I suck. They may never recover from that. So they have the imposter complex. Down the hill, I get the imposter complex. Up the hill, how do we get out of it? Only I, at the top of the hill, bear that responsibility. I must have the confidence to take a chance, to not only be silent, but to be a bit of a fool. Because the best listeners, the best hill flatteners I've ever seen are people who are willing to take chances with their body, with their face, and with their voice, with their gesticulation, all to send a signal, you're going to be okay. I got you. You're okay. No, it's fine. I need it. Thank you. You're safe here. You're safe here. That's what it takes to be an effective listener. That's what it takes to be an effective leader. And it's a risk. And it's a risk that is made possible only by that combination of confidence and humility. I compare the two presidents before Joe Biden. Barack Obama was the best listener I've ever seen. Donald Trump was the worst listener I've ever seen. And that difference, in my view, is accounted for entirely by their proportions of confidence and humility. Barack Obama was a person who was deeply secure, deeply secure. If he had a weakness when it came to that, maybe it was a little bit of too much genuine confidence, but it was a confidence that allowed him to sit silently in the Oval Office, turn and face the speaker, someone like me, ask, what do I need to know? And then be quiet for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, except not be quiet entirely. Make little sounds, little gestures. Take chances with the way he's communicating non-verbally so that I will communicate verbally, knowing that if the president of the United States, the top of a very steep hill, interrupts the speaker, the hill gets steeper because the speaker starts thinking, what does he want me to say? Where should I go? Did I go in the wrong direction? And the whole meeting is thrown off course. Barack Obama was a gifted listener by virtue of that combination of enough confidence to generate that posture of humility to take those chances. Donald Trump is a deeply, deeply, deeply insecure person. I have actually never met an adult with a greater hunger for affirmation, with a bigger hole to be filled inside. And so very difficult for him, even to tolerate silence. And so when you were trying to brief Donald Trump, he was almost always behind the desk where Barack Obama never sat during a meeting. And he was talking constantly. So the hill is not only steep, there's a block of wood on it. And the guy on the other side, on the uphill side, is speaking over the block of wood at you the whole time. Not an environment in which you down the hill are likely to take the chance to speak the truth up that hill. A terrifying situation anywhere, but especially when the person is president of the United States. So kindness and toughness, confidence and humility, right? That's it, right? Not quite. Because to be a successful leader in public service, especially, you need something else. Something that is made possible by those attributes. You need an ability to lift your eyes when you make hard decisions. Most decisions we make are made with our eyes at the lower level, right? What's the thing that'll make people happiest? What do people want? I'm kind of tired. I got to get this done. I'm hungry. Small, ordinary things dominate our vision, and most of the time that's fine. But when you're making hard decisions about right and wrong, about strategy, about what is the best thing to do for this institution in which I serve, the best leaders, in my experience, were the people who, by virtue of those attributes of kindness and toughness, confidence and humility, were able to lift their eyes above the near field, lower level stuff that normally dominates our lives. And what they would do is lift their eyes and ask, so what should guide this decision? What are my external frameworks here? Should I be drawing upon norms, laws, traditions, history, faith, philosophy, logic? What are the things above that should help me make a sound decision here? And in my experience, an ethical decision, a right decision, is not about the answer, because the hardest decisions are always close and people can see them differently. It's about how the decision is made. And critical to making a sound decision, especially in public service, is lifting your eyes and asking, so what should guide this decision? And secondly, traveling in time. Moving to a place out of the current storm, out of the current room of angry voices, and looking back on this moment and asking yourself, so how will I explain this? It's now 3 years from now, it's 5 years from now. What will I say to a class of students or a congressional hearing or an editorial room at a major newspaper? What will I say about why I made the decisions I made? The reason it's important to do that is that's a guardrail against you lowering your eyes. Because once you've lifted your eyes, and then ask yourself that question, how are you ever going to lower your eyes again and make the decision because people will be pissed at me if I make a different decision? How are you ever going to make a decision based on political tribe or friendship? Because you're never going to want to explain it that way. No one will ever listen to you give that as a valid excuse for making a decision when your obligation is to serve institutions that are to operate in the public interest. They're going to be looking at you like, why didn't you lift your eyes? So you lift your eyes, you travel to the future, you look back on the moment you're stuck in and ask, what will be the right decision made in the right way that I'll be proud to explain in a different time and place? That's what good leaders do. So find those attributes, find them in the people that you want to work for, flee the people who don't have them. I'm not saying light yourself on fire, because we all need jobs, but find a way to move to a place where you can work for someone who has those attributes, learn from that person, and they'll want to help you grow. And when you get to a place where you're making hard decisions, ask yourself, what really matters here? What should guide this decision? And what will I say about it down the road that I'll be proud to say? This country of ours needs you very badly. I began with an apology, and I want to end with a bookend to that, which may seem a little weird, an expression of envy. You've been through very difficult times, and I'm sorry that you've had to deal with that. But in many ways, I envy you, because you are about to step into a world that is going to roar. Unlike any time since the last time our country emerged from a pandemic. The 1920s were an extraordinary generation extraordinary decade in the life of this country. The decade that's now beginning is going to be similarly extraordinary. You're going to see growth in technology and innovation and industry and globalization and all kinds of ways I can't possibly predict. But the world into which you're about to step is going to roar. But it's also a deeply polarized world, a world, especially here in the United States, where millions of people are trapped in a fog of lies, with a fraudulent view of elections, of government, of disease. And so those two forces will be working against each other, the forces of retreat and of falsehood and the roaring that's about to happen in this country. Be part of both. Be part of the roaring, but be part of moving this country to a healthier place. And you do that not by lecturing people, but by showing them what good public service looks like, what honest, empathetic, competent leadership looks like. I'm fine to tell my kids, yeah, we've screwed it up. We grown-ups have totally screwed things up. Great, get out there and fix it. Don't withdraw, step into the public square. Do good as long as ever you can. We need you more than ever, and you have an opportunity to be a person of lasting impact, a person of value. Thank you for being those kind of people. I look forward to watching you change our world. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that speech and all of your advice, Director Comey. I know we all really enjoyed and appreciated it immensely. Everything you said was especially helpful for those of us looking towards the future and what impact we're hoping to have on the world once we leave this campus. We're so honored that you shared your wisdom with us and joined us for MUN IX. And I now would also like to thank everyone who's virtually attending these ceremonies from home. We at MUN are so excited for this conference and cannot wait for our first committee session to start at 5:45 p.m. And thus, I would like to officially open MUN IX. Thank you.